What is good, boys? Welcome back to another video. Today I want to go over a question that was asked in my Discord because I feel like it's something that every single trader goes through, and it's something I went through as well when I was watching my mentors in their Discord, watching them live trade. So the question was, do you have any advice on how to build confidence in your model? Because once again, you took a trade that ended up working that I too saw and didn't take it. It happened for the fourth time in the past 2 weeks and is starting to piss me off a little bit. Like, what do you do to get conviction to take all these setups? Does it come with market experience, with the model, or is there anything that you did besides just looking at the charts? And first and foremost, I just want to say it's screen time, okay? It happens to absolutely everyone because, like I said, when I was in my mentors' Discords and I was watching them live trade when I first started learning their model, right, I would take the same trades that they were. Okay, and then when I started to blossom into my own trader, stopped watching their live streams, obviously still using the model that they taught me because it is a profitable model. But when I started to blossom into my own trading experience and go trade on my own, I struggled with that as well because they would post their trade recaps and I would see the trades in the market, but I would be hesitant on to take it. And the only way I overcame that was literally just screen time. My conviction has got so much better because I continued to show up day in and day out. I understand it's a little frustrating and it may piss you off, but please don't let that affect the decisions you make in the market, okay? Because literally the only way you are going to learn is to lose. And I lost a fucking lot, so that's how I learned. So my advice to you is take those setups, but risk a small size because yeah, forward testing is good, but it doesn't feel the same as actually entering the trade. Something internally changes because yeah, you can just put the profit and your stop loss and take profit, the little position tool on the chart, and you can act like you're in the trade, but your emotions aren't really involved in that trade because you're not actually in it. So I would just say de-risk. Okay, and those losses you took, even if you de-risk, you're gonna remember a lot more than the random losses you just took forward testing. Okay, and if you don't want to do that and you do only want a forward test, that is completely fine as well. But make sure you journal every single forward test and treat it like an actual trade. Okay, and I would certainly only forward test your A plus setups or A setups. If you see a C setup, I wouldn't even bother putting the position tool out there because you're just gonna confuse yourself in the long run. But it really does just come down to screen time, just showing up day in and day out. Like I said, I understand it's very annoying because when I would watch their trade recaps and they would take the trades that I was hesitant on taking and didn't take it, and I ended up forward testing it, and theirs ended up playing out, and I either ended up taking a shittier setup or just no trades that day at all, I would feel like I was so far behind because I was missing out on money, which is a terrible mindset to have. But not only that, I was also missing out on the setups that I should have took, right? And ever since I stopped watching their live streams, which was at the end of August, September was kind of a rough month because that was the first month I really kind of blossomed into my own trader. But October and November so far, my conviction has gotten so much better. So it's going to take about maybe 2 to 3 months, which realistically in the long run isn't that long, right? Because these weeks go by quick. There's only about 20 trading days per month. And some of the days you don't even take a trade anyway. So I suggest just de-risking, okay? And just journal everything. Just journal everything you take, because like I said, it does happen to everyone. It happened to me. But at the end of the day, you just have to trust your model, and that's what it is, okay? If you see your model present itself, just go ahead and enter, and if you fail, then you fail. You can't be scared to lose in these markets. Let me show you guys this example from today because I think this would apply to what I'm talking about. Okay, so this was my entire thought process coming to this morning. So we had a daily fair value gap that we came up and we tapped into, and then we were somewhere around here at market open. So I was like, okay, I'm bearish on the day just looking at this. And then I scaled down to the 4 hour, and what I seen on the 4 hour was this 4 hour fair value gap that we came and swept out the intermediate lows with. And then if we scale down all the way to the 1 minute, after we swept out those intermediate lows, we started to reverse back up. So then I was like, okay, let me just mark out draws and liquidity on both sides because I have a pretty neutral bias. And then I'm going to look from there just for internal structure and structure to be built. So what do we have on the buy side? Well, we had London highs up here, okay, and we had a few unfilled gaps to the left of us. And then we also had unfilled gaps to the left of us on the buy side as well. And then we had 15-minute lows right here. Whatever the case may be, we had an unfilled hourly right here as well. So I was like, okay, I want to see how price reacts off of certain levels. So we continued, we had this V-shaped recovery, and we continued up and up and up. And then once we hit this level right here, which was what? It was an hourly fair value gap. So I was like, okay, this is a possible area of either a retracement or a reversal. And I know this because I've spent screen time in the market, right? If we make giant moves like this, chances are we are going to come down and rebalance this leg before continuing higher, probably towards London highs, right? And then once we hit London highs, then if we truly are bearish on the higher time frames on the daily, then we can start making that move on the way down. So I wanted to see how price reacted off of these levels. If we just started just disregarding these and continued higher, okay, I would have just looked for a continuation long. But since we came up into this hourly gap, and I know like anywhere from like the hourly time frame higher, if we tap into an unfilled gap, we can possibly, there's a high chance we can possibly see a rejection out of it. So we got our higher time frame narrative with this 1 hour fair value gap, and then we also came up and tapped into, where is it at? We also came up and tapped into an unfilled 15-minute gap as well. So when I look for a higher time frame PD race, I like to scale down and look for like smaller time frame for value gaps inside of there. So in this example, we had an hourly with a 15-minute inside of it. I was like, cool. At that point in time, there wasn't really enough conviction for me because I still wanted to go long towards London high. So I was like, okay, maybe if this plays out, that's fine. And then I'll look for longs after we tap. Well, what was my take profit? After we tap like this 15-minute gap, this 5-minute gap, whatever the case may be, whatever is in here, right? Then I'll look for a rejection out of there and then go towards my draw on liquidity on the day. But since I started building internal conviction, what else did we get? We got a sweep of these hourly highs, okay? We swept out these hourly highs, and with that sweep of the hourly highs, what else did we get? Well, we got an SMT with them. We never came up and took out that high on ES. So I was like, okay, not only did we just tap into a higher time frame PDA and a middle time frame PDA as well with it, we also got an SMT indicating a possible reversal. So now I'm like, okay, we have clear targets below. If we have clear targets below and all these are lining up, there should be no reason why I don't take the trade. And this was something I struggled with in the beginning. I was hesitant to take it because I was scared to fail. You can't be scared to fail. All right. So what ended up happening? I looked for my entry model, which is on the 1 through 5 minute time frame, and it's the highest inversion on the 1 through 5 minutes. So in this case, we had a 5-minute IFVG, and I know with 5-minute IFVGs, they hold a lot more weight typically than like a 1 to 3 minute or like 1 to 2 minute. I feel like the 3-minute and up holds a pretty decent amount of weight. But if we have conviction that price is going to either retrace or reverse off of a certain level, which we do here, okay, with the SMT, the hourly gap, and the 15-minute gap, and then we get like on the like the higher low time frame inversions, because obviously the 1 through 2 minute, it would be like our low time frame inversion, but on the lower end. And then the 3, 4, and 5 minute would be on the higher end of those low time frame inversions. And higher time frame holds higher power. And this is something I learned just specifically with screen time. We got a 5-minute inversion. I was like, awesome. So I didn't really enter off the 5-minute inversion. I was like, okay, let's build it just a little bit more internal structure, because we could have just came up, reswept this, and then continued back lower. Well, what did we create? We created a 2-minute for value gap right here. Okay. And what else did we get with the 2-minute fair value gap? ES came up and actually hit the fair value gap. Okay, so we had a fair value gap SMT on the lower time frames, and I was like, okay, as soon as I see a rejection out of there, which we did, so I ended up entering off of, my entry was like right here. Still had this as my take profit, and I was in the trade for about 3 minutes or so. Yeah, we kind of rejected it right here with this candle, and that was enough confirmation for me, because we now have a 5-minute inversion. We have a lower time frame IFVG or SMT with a fair value gap. We have an SMT, and we have our higher time frame narrative with our 1 hour fair value gap and our 15-minute fair value gap, and we've seen a clean rejection off of it. So I was like, okay, there should be no reason for me to not enter this trade. If for whatever reason I got stopped out, I would be completely fine with it. Why? Because I built conviction and I had clear targets lower, right? There was a valid reason for me to enter the trade. Now, if I'm just entering a trade blindly, just because I see price running and I see just a random inversion, then that's a little bit different. But since I built conviction, right? It, like I said, it all just depends on your conviction and your draw on liquidity, okay? So I built conviction that price is going to retrace for the meantime, and we had valid areas for price to come back down into. So like I said, it just comes with screen time. I get it's a little frustrating, but you're just going to have to work through it. It is what it is at the end of the day. It's a part of the game. Don't knock yourself too hard, because eventually you will learn, and eventually you will start taking those setups. And 70% of the time, why? Because my win rate is 70%. 70% of the time, you're going to fucking win them. And the ones you lose, who cares? It was an A+ setup. It happens. You have a 70% win rate, which means you're going to fail 30% of the time. Okay, it is what it is. It's a part of the game. Okay, don't get too hard on yourself because every trader has gone through this. Now, this is more like a strategic thing. It's not really like just blowing evals over and over like a cannon event. This is also a cannon event, but in a different sense, because you can learn from this super easy, right? You just start building conviction, de-risk. Okay, if you're on like an XFA or fucking eval and you're unsure of it, just de-risk. Okay, and that's what I like to do too, because I still got that like internal feeling of, okay, I'm in this actual trade. It actually means something to me, rather than me just forward testing a random setup and just not having to worry about that. I like actually having trades that mean something to me, and especially if you build conviction and you think it's an A+ setup. An A+ setup should be really clear, right? And what did I do? I built conviction on like 4 separate time frames right here, so it was really clear to me that price was going to at least retrace for the time being. If we continue lower, then it is what it is, and if we ended up reversing off those key levels when I take profit with that, well then so what? I'm already out the trade anyway, right? Because how does the market move? It moves from external liquidity to internal liquidity, and from internal liquidity to external liquidity. Okay, so keep that in mind. I hope this video helped you guys out. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead, leave them in the comments. Code LoeGpa on Lucid Trades. 35% off, no activation fees, like $70 all in for a 50K account. Free Discord is in the description. Go check that out as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch y'all boys tomorrow.